So it's that time of year again. It is Man Booker season. I really enjoy keeping up with literary prizes. I don't always read everything that makes it onto long lists or short lists, but I think it's a really good way to keep up with what is being published and by who, where the industry has been and where it is heading, and it's just a fun little thing to keep an eye on in the book community. I only really started paying attention to literary prizes about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. I think the first prize that I kind of started to keep up with was the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction, and I kept up with the Man Booker Prize last year, but I only read one of the books on the shortlist. For this, I have read 2 of the books on the long list, and I have copies of a few more of them that I'm hoping to get to. When I started paying attention to literary prizes, however, the Man Booker Prize seemed like one of those ones that was really impenetrable and difficult to get into. So, if any of you guys are in a similar boat to I was in, I'm bringing you a beginner's guide to the Man Booker Prize. I'm not going to go into the history of the prize too much because there is a complicated-ish narrative with who was sponsoring it and who lended their names to it and stuff. But the prize was launched in 1969 and aims to promote the finest in fiction by rewarding the best novel of the year written in English and published in the United Kingdom. This year the long list was announced on the 27th of July and there are 13 books on the long list. The short list, where the books will be whittled down to just 6, will be announced on the 13th of August and the winner will be announced on the 17th of October. The judges are chosen from a wide range of disciplines. We have literary critics, we have writers, we have academics, poets, politicians and actors, all of whom have a passion for quality fiction. What do you win? Well, the winner of the Man Booker Prize receives £50,000 and, like all of the shortlisted authors, a cheque for £2,500 and a designer-bound copy of their book. The winner and shortlisted authors always receive a massive boost in sales because of the promotion and recognition. Previous winners of the prize include Iris Murdoch, Salman Rushdie, Ben Okri, Roddy Doyle, Margaret Atwood, Ian McHugh, Anne Enright, Hilary Mantel, Marlon James and Paul Beatty. What kind of books win the Man Booker Prize? Well, this is an interesting one. As I said, it's meant to be the finest of fiction, but what does that mean? Often with the Man Booker Prize it is literary fiction, meaning books that kind of defy genre, that cannot be put in a category, although a lot of historical fiction has won in the past. A lot of the time the fiction that makes an appearance on the shortlist for the Man Booker is quite experimental and it pushes the boundaries of what we can do with the novel. For instance, one of the books on the long list this year is told entirely in one sentence. And I think that's the reason why the Man Booker seems impenetrable and inaccessible to a lot of people. You're not going to love everything that's on the Man Booker list. You're just not. But it is a great way to try fiction that you might not otherwise pick up and push yourself a little bit with what you're reading. Sometimes it feels like the Man Booker cannot win with public opinion. If it long lists and short lists really literary experimental books, it's deemed inaccessible. If it short lists and long lists more commercial fiction, it is not highbrow enough. If it gives attention to smaller books from smaller, potentially independent publishing houses, it receives both praise and criticism. Praise for giving promotion to those books, but also criticism because people are like, hey, I've never even heard of this book before. Whereas if big names like Ali Smith and Zadie Smith, who are on the long list this year, crop up, it's accused of being too obvious. So that is my little beginner's guide to the Man Booker Prize. I also have a few little facts about the history of the prize if you're interested. So in 1972 the prize was won by John Berger, who was known for his Marxist worldview. He protested against Booker in his acceptance speech, blaming Booker's 130 years of sugar production in the Caribbean for the region's modern poverty. Berger donated half of his prize money to the British Black Panther movement because they had a socialist and revolutionary worldview that agreed with his own. In 1993, 2 of the judges threatened to walk out when Trainspotting appeared on the long list. This novel was pulled from the shortlist in order to satisfy them, but went on to be a huge success. In 1981, nominee John Banville wrote a letter to The Guardian requesting that the prize be given to him so he could use the money to buy every copy of the long-listed books in Ireland and donate them to libraries, in order to ensure that the books weren't just purchased, but they were actually read. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different to what I've been doing lately and I really enjoy that. Do you feel a little bit more equipped to potentially delve into Man Booker nominated books now? Anyways, I hope you're well and I will talk to you guys in my next video.